Ada for calling my wife irresponsible, possibly being overprotective of my daughter. Hello. I don't really know how to start this. I'm sorry if there are any mistakes. English is not my first language. I live with my wife Jen, 37F, and our two kids, 13F and 7F. Last weekend, my wife went out for the day with our oldest daughter, who for this story I will call Emily, while I stayed home with our youngest. 3 hours after they left, I got a call from Emily. She was very upset on the phone and was crying. She explained that they went to a clothing store together. They split up to look at different sections, and now is nowhere to be found, and her phone is going to the voicemail. She had asked an employee to make a speaker announcement, and no one has come forward, and Jen had been gone for around an hour. I told Emily not to panic, and I come straight down. When I got there, Jen was still gone, and I couldn't see her car in the parking area. We searched for Jen in the stores that are next door, in case she went in one of them, and I also try to call her. Around 40 minutes later, Jen calls me and says she is on her way back to the clothing store. I asked where she had been, and she says she drove to another nearby store that she wanted to go to. I asked why she didn't bring Emily, or at least tell her that she was leaving, and she said because she did not expect to take a long time, or for Emily to even notice that she was gone. Emily has been distraught and avoiding Jen. She is still very upset. When we got home, Jen and I had an argument, as I said that she was irresponsible for going away and leaving Emily in the store without telling her. Jen says I just want to treat Emily like a baby, and that she is old enough to be able to be on her own in a store. I asked Jen why she did not answer her phone, and she says she accidentally put it on Do Not Disturb. Jen is angry that I called her irresponsible, and says that what she did is nowhere close to being an irresponsible parent. I know I can be overprotective of my kids, but we do live in a high-crime area, and it makes me very angry that Emily was left feeling scared. Am I the asshole? Welcome to /Am I the Asshole. Please view our voting guide here, h/reddit.com/r/am I the asshole /wikingatcore/2920s with these acronyms .3f what they mean .3f. And remember to use only one judgment in your comment. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. 1. I called my wife irresponsible for leaving our 13-year-old daughter in a store by herself without telling her. 2. I may be overreacting and being overprotective. My wife say, "Yes, I am babying her, so I do not know if I am wrong. I could have been nicer to my wife. Help keep the sub engaging. Don't downvote assholes. Do upvote interesting posts." Click here for our rules, reddit.com/amtheasshole about/rules, and click here for our reddit.com/amashole. Hapt subreddit announcements. Follow the link above to learn more. I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit. Edit is /reddit.conf/message/compose if you have any questions or concerns. Contest mode is 1.5 hours long on this post. NTA. I might spend too much time here, but it feels like your wife didn't say anything to your daughter because she wanted to make sure your daughter didn't ask to tag along. I'm immediately suspicious of what your wife was actually doing. I can't imagine being with anyone at a store, leaving and driving to another store and not telling them, let alone a freaking child. Forget for a second whether or not she should have left the kid at the store along. How the bleep do you not text them and say, "Hey, I'm going to X store, I'll be back in a bit," unless you don't want to risk them saying, "Oh, I'll come with you." This is exactly where my mind went too. Why is your phone on Do Not Disturb when you're out of the house with one of your kids? Emergencies happen, and people need to be able to reach you. I don't know what kind of phone she has, but it's pretty difficult to accidentally put my iPhone on DND manually, and if I've left my car, the driving autofocus turns off. Definitely very sus. And she was gone for an hour and 40 minutes? Android user here, and I most definitely cannot accidentally put my phone on DND. iPhone user here, I can Google and find a good discount and find a good place to eat, not put my phone in DND intentionally. No clue on how to do that. I would have to look it up. Question, can OP go track where the phone went? See if it really went next door? If I turn my phone upside down, it turns it to DND. I do it all the time without thinking. Not saying this is what happened, just that it is possible with Android. Maybe. I just turned my auto-rotate on and spun it like a top, lol. Nada. It very well could be phone-specific, though. Either way, this story is fishier than Bikini Bottom. I have a Nokia, and the only way to turn off my phone is to physically hold the button, which I think would be hard to bump accidentally. And then I get the choices of turning it off or put in emergency mode. Otherwise, I have to go into settings. If I'm with my hubby or daughter, I would tell them if I'm going to another store. My hubby usually doesn't have his cell with him, but my daughter and I usually have ours when out of the house, even though sometimes I have accidentally left me on my desk. We can text each other if at the mall, but not together. It is strange for the mother to leave her 13-year-old like that without telling her she was slipping off to another store. It's not considerate. Android user here, and I most definitely cannot accidentally put my phone on D&D. I have a Pixel, and one of my kids manages to put my phone on D&D all the time. He's 4, and I cannot figure out what he does. Drop-down screen? Yes, but I have a passcode and thought the pull-down wasn't accessible without it. I haven't investigated it too much because no one calls me anyhow. I accidentally switch on D&D on my Pixel constantly. Yes, it does not happen in any way accidentally. She did not want to be disturbed while she was allegedly shopping without the child. My dad, in his late 70s, accidentally puts his iPhone on D&D constantly. Sure, it's an accident. Same. I have to open the phone app and then go to 2 other windows to put it in D&D. Kit was no accident. She ditched the kid after turning it off. My question is, why? Also Android user, and TBH, it's really hard to accidentally put it on Do Not Disturb. I did once. Lol. My old Android/Verizon Motorola Droid has a setting in it that I didn't know about when I first got it. If I put my phone face down when I don't want the glowing screen to bother me while I'm trying to fall asleep, that triggers the Do Not Disturb mode. It won't turn off until I flip my phone face up. I disabled that setting after I missed a few calls since I had left my phone on the bedroom while going to the kitchen for breakfast. It took me quite a while to find that switch thing deep in the settings menu though. Lol, I'm in this boat. She definitely skipped off to meet her affair partner. 13 is totally old enough to be left in the store alone if she knows what happened to her mother. She totally did the correct thing and called her father. I totally want to give that 13-year-old a hug. That could have been a terrible situation. She absolutely did the correct thing with calling her dad. The 13-yo is so very much more responsible than the mother. You have good reason to be proud of her. Give her a hug and tell her that she did the right thing and that you are very proud of her. Sounds more like copping drugs to me, especially living in a high crime area, but I already thought that before reading. Am I the only weirdo that does it all the time? It's next to the screen brightness on the pull-down menu, which I frequently change. In all seriousness, because I have this tendency, I've got it so close family can get through, no matter what. Op is definitely NTA though, and it is weird that she left for so long. I do it all the time too, and I agree that OP is NTA, and who leaves a 13-year-old in a store without saying they're leaving? Hell, I wouldn't do that to my adult friends if I went shopping with them, but it's way worse when it involves a child. Yes, she is hiding something. Sounds like grabbing drugs to me, but maybe my mind is tainted from being addicted to drugs in the past. But this would definitely be something I'd pull, although not with a child. No. She was gone for an hour before Emily called her dad. She was gone for however long it took him to get to the store, and then was gone for another 40 minutes. So that is no less than 2 hours from the time Emily started looking for her. Exactly. Even hard to do with an Android smartphone. She ditched the kid. It's extremely hard to do with people who are on your plan. They usually are excluded from D&D. No idea what happened here, obviously, and I don't agree with any part of what the wife did. But I have to say that my mom and my MIL have accidentally put their phones on D&D hundreds of times. I have pointed it out to my mom repeatedly, and her response is always the same. Really? How do you know? I have personally never done this on accident, but I am now very used to it. Be a common accident. That too, phone on D&D when you are not in speaking distance of the child. Something is way off here. You have to go to some effort to put your phone on D&D. It's pretty much impossible to accidentally do it. Yep, I'm keeping an eye out for an update on Boru. The only way her behavior makes sense is if she's doing something secretive, like an affair, She used her daughter as cover, but screwed up the timing. Ding ding ding, wife is SHADY. Mom here of a similar aged daughter, me too. If she'd said she walked into the store next to it, thinking of a mall, that might be one thing. But how in the world do you take your daughter shopping, leave to drive to another store, and not even mention that you're leaving her? I'd be livid, and daughter was clearly frantic, hence still feeling the effects and being distant. Right? As someone with a tendency to wander off and make others upset, that's not wandering off, that's sneaking away. I was one of the older members of a group trip chaperoned by my parents when I was almost 18. They felt the need to tell the entire group of 13, 14-year-olds on up that I was liable to wander off. I mean, they weren't wrong or anything, but that's embarrassing. Since there was a chance any of us, especially me, might be separated from the group, all were required to keep our phones on and warn us at all times. I was required to carry one of the group battery packs for multiple reasons, not just wandering. Yeah, this is sneaking away from your barely teenager. Lol. I think my teachers wish my parents had said something like this. I was on a high school trip to Ireland and got me and two other 15, 16-year-olds lost in Dublin before everyone having cell phones was a thing. Exactly. We have a few family members with ADHD, and my husband notoriously wanders off, but realizes it minutes later. She totally snuck off. Otherwise, why wouldn't she tell her daughter? Even if I go to the mall with my mom and we split up, I always text letting her know when I'm going to other stores and where I'll be. She does the same. Hell, we do that even if we split up in the same store, like Walmart. You don't leave without telling your kid. What if something happened to her? What if she got kidnapped? There are so many what ifs, and for her mom to not even have those what ifs in the back of her mind is beyond irresponsible. What she did isn't okay, and she put her daughter in a stressful and dangerous situation without a care. It's not okay, that should never be okay. Exactly. I listen to too much true crime, and with stranger abductions, it's places like malls and shopping centers and looking for a young girl or boy by themselves. Hell, my DL and I text each other if we separate, and we're both adults. Mom of 14-year-old son. I would never ever leave him in a store and drive off without him, especially without telling him. But no, I'd ask, but just leave him. I can't even imagine. OP's wife was up to something. Ding, ding, ding. Exactly right. That's my mind went to as well. It's giving sus. My money is on buying drugs. Me too. It seems like she thought it would only take a few minutes, and she wouldn't be missed, but it took longer to score than she thought. Going on drug dealer time is a real bitch. That was my first thought. My money is on buying drugs. My money is on some quickie sex. Boyfriend was waiting in a nearby parking lot for their tryst. Same as an ex-drug addict, this would be the exact kind of thing I'd pull. Not with a kid, but still excuse to dip out for a min to grab and then try and get back and make it seem like no biggie. If I were going to another store, I would tell my adult daughter since we were there shopping together. The wife is suspect. I didn't think of this, but OBS, she didn't want her child going with her. But also, why would she just leave her? She come up another excuse. It's not just you, but I've got a nasty, suspicious mind. She probably went to see her lover. I still tell my 24-year-old daughter when we shop together, and I'm usually just going to the next area in the store. Yes, you're definitely spending too much time here. Man, everyone jumping on secret boyfriend. My guess would be drug dealer. Yes, what was she really doing that she wanted no one to know? That was the giant red flag that immediately popped up to me as well. Nobody acts like that unless there is something shady going on. Hell, I'm an adult, and if my mom disappeared and wasn't answering her phone or announcement, I'd be weirded out too. Definitely sounds like mom was up to something else. If it was as simple as wanting to go to the store by herself, why didn't she just say, hey, stay here, I'll be right back? NTA. Cheating for 20 minutes, though? That lover is not worth it. I'm a grown-ass woman, and none of my parents would pull this stunt like OP's wife. She was 100% cheating, and her acting like that is for op to not be suspicious. NTA, and this has nothing to do with being overprotective. This is just a smokescreen thrown up to obscure your wife's bad behavior. Suppose it wasn't her daughter she took to the store, but a friend. Even for an adult friend, you don't run out without a word. That's irresponsible and a possible friendship-ending offense. Your wife is TA, no ifs, ands, or buts. Exactly this. If I'm shopping with a friend and decide to go to a different store, I tell the friend. Hell, I even do that to my husband. Going to X now, meet you at Y. Okay, we'll stop at Z and meet you at Y. It's basic communication, especially if you're the friend's only ride home and you're taking your car. All of this 100%. To do this to anyone is callous at best. To do this to your 13-year-old daughter is callous and irresponsible. Your daughter is going to remember this day and how her mother treated her. Luckily for her, she will also remember how quickly her dad came to help and stood up for her too. I was shopping with my friend today, we're late 30s, early 40s F, and she let me know she was running to the bathroom, despite the fact that we were shopping in different sections of the store and not within each other's eyesight, but knew where we each were. That's like the basics of what you do, so when one of us goes looking, we know where to look. Homegirl is having an affair for sure. Exactly. I'm 40, and none of my adult family members would treat each other this way. It's not about the kid's age, it's basic respect. But NTA, something is very wrong with your wife. She could have at the very least texted Emily to let her know she was leaving the store. Her phone was conveniently on D&D. I worry she being someone she had no business for, her to not bring your daughter with her, then not answer the phone. Especially if this is in a high-crime neighborhood. Her defensive reaction is also concerning. There is definitely more going on here. This is so sketchy. The wife should know you don't treat anyone like this. She was definitely doing something wrong. This right here is how you get abandonment issues, by being abandoned. NTA, although not for the reason you're stating. Yes, 13 is old enough to be left alone. I went to the mall with my friends at 13, walked down to the library, babysat my little brothers, etc. That is the age that kids should be starting to gain independence. The part that's wrong is leaving her alone without allowing her to make that choice and without telling her it was going to happen. If the mom had said, "Hey, I'm going to another store down the way," that would make sense. But the biggest thing you're missing, literally, no one leaves their kid alone for 2 hours to go to a store down the street, and they don't conveniently put their phone on D&D when they do that. I think there's a strong possibility that she's either cheating on you or, less likely but still possible, meeting a dealer of some sort. Everyone aside from OP knows that his wife is cheating on him. Oh, and since it obviously needed to be stated, if I go to a store with my mom's sister, partner, child, friend, boss, coworker, nephew, I will obviously let them know that I'm going to another store before leaving. That's common sense. We came together, right? NTAOP, but you're dense AF. Nah, not cheating, it's drugs. This makes more sense to me than cheating because of the timing. Agree. Not really worth meeting your affair partner for like 30 mins. Very normal to think that buying drugs will take 20 mins. Then you get there, and your guy is also waiting for his guy to drop the stuff off, but didn't actually tell you that beforehand. Then you have to hang around and awkwardly say hi to his mom and stuff. Yes, everything about this. Opie, does she fall asleep super easily? Does she always lose her cash? Yes, she thought it would be a minute, but she forgot or didn't care. She's going on drug dealer time. They are always just 5 min away. An hour later, you have drugs in hand. Parking lot BJ, right? If I go to a store with someone, I feel rude even going to shop in another department without saying, "Hey, I'ma go check out the jewelry department," or whatever. Don't be calling him dense when you can't see a junkie bailing on her kid and telling herself it'll just take 5 minutes to score for what it is. This. How old are you? Because I went everywhere when I was a kid of the 70s. Had street smarts. Kids nowadays don't have street smarts. Plus, sex trafficking was a thing back then. The kid did everything right and handled the situation very maturely as far as I can tell, so not sure what you're on about. As far as she knew, her mom was in the store with her. She called her several times. had the store page her, and then reached out to her other parent. The mom is in the wrong for leaving her 13-year-old alone with no warning. Yes, a 13-year-old can be trusted to shop on their own for a bit. But that's generally agreed upon beforehand, with a plan in place for when and where to meet or call. I'm an adult person, and if I was shopping with a friend who then disappeared for almost 2 hours, I'd call the police. I'd think something terrible happened to my friend. This isn't about independence. It's about a grown woman disappearing for 2 hours with the lamest of lame excuses. Lol, so those thousands and thousands of kids who were kidnapped and murdered by the enormous amount of serial killers in the 70s all had street smarts? Like the ones who got into cars with people for joints, or to see a puppy, or because a fake cop told them to? I mean, the kids of today have more street smarts than that. And sex trafficking is still a thing. The sex traffickers just have to be much smarter and more organized than they did when you boomers were teens. I'm 32, and while crime's gone back up a bit post-COVID, the crime rate in the 90s was still 50% higher than it is now. You seem kind of judgmental. This has nothing to do with street smarts. What are you proposing the kid do differently? Plus, sex trafficking was a thing back then. Hate to break it to you, but sex trafficking is unfortunately an even bigger thing now. She says she drove to another nearby store that she wanted to go to. 1. And she left her 13-year-old daughter at the store. 2. That's some disgustingly neglectful behavior. 3. It's actually way worse than you're portraying it. 4. NTA. It is not that Emily can't be in a store alone. It is that Emily went into the store with her mother. Then her mother left without telling her a thing. Emily deserved to know where her mother was. They traveled to the store together. NTA. NTA, but am I the only one who is suspicious of where the wife went? I don't believe wife's story for a second. No, you're not. The story makes no sense. Nobody drives to another store without telling the person they're with. Walks? Okay. But drives? No. Only thing I don't get is why she did whatever it is she went to go do while out with the daughter. 10 minutes, the person you're with might not notice you're missing. But 40? Come on. She was already gone for an hour when the daughter called the OP. Then after he drove to the store, it was another 40 minutes before she returned. Very likely she was gone for over 2 hours. I missed that. That makes Mom even more ridiculous. Unless this store was the size of a museum, there's no way she believed her daughter wouldn't notice she was gone. Nope, not the only one. Nope. My first thought was cheating, Toha. It just sounds completely suspicious. My first thought was that she went to meet her dealer. I vote drugs. This has all the markings of an addict. The excuse is too flimsy for a cheater. It's really that, to me, it reads as impulsive and sort of desperate. It seems more likely to me that she texted her dealer, and he said, "I can meet you if you can be there in 30 minutes. I've never had an extramarital affair, so I don't know for sure, but I feel like if you're going to meet a secret lover, even for a parking lot quickie, you probably pick a time and place in advance, so you can arrange to not have your kid with you. Nope, my BS detector is screeching. Drugs, 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 drugs. I did this art recently, and I feel like it's fitting. .com /2bk. Honestly, you're not the only one, and apparently they also live in a bad neighborhood from the sounds of it too, and left her child alone without saying anything for 2 hours. She is either cheating, or getting drugs, or even a shitty-ass person, or all of the above, or having to cheat to get discounted drugs, so OP won't notice the smaller amount of money missing. This smells like betrayal. We all are. So NTA. Your wife left your teenage daughter alone in a store, with her phone on Do Not Disturb, and you all live in a high-crime area. Your wife is the AH, and is definitely irresponsible and stupid. And regardless of whether or not you're in a high-crime area, your daughter could have been abducted, as those types of creeps are out there. And the fact that Jen is being defensive about her behavior is very alarming, and she needs help. Nah, that's crazy. I'm a 37-year-old independent woman. If I went shopping with my mom and she disappeared for hours without a word and couldn't be reached, I'd be freaking out too. Besides being irresponsible, yes, it's also just plain rude behavior. I think there must be something else to your wife's story, especially if this is out of character for her. If she's usually this self-centered, well, that's another thing too. Right? Your wife is lucky. The police didn't get called. Honestly, I'm surprised you guys didn't assume she got abducted because her getting in a car willingly and leaving a child alone in a store seems so far-fetched. Came here to say this. It could be with anyone, friends, colleagues, etc. It would still be rude. She's joking, right? She just abandons your 13-year-old without a single explanation, leaves the location completely, cannot be contacted for well over an hour, and she doesn't see that as irresponsible parenting? I'm lost for words, to be honest. She's trying to paint you as overprotective on top of it? Newsflash, lady. One of the most sacred parts of being a parent is making your child feel protected. She failed miserably, then has the audacity to try to throw shade at you. She's lucky. Our daughter, or the store, didn't call the police to report an abandoned minor. Your wife needs to take responsibility for her lousy behavior and make things right. I doubt she sees things that way. She got what she wanted, so why bother? Shame on her. NTA. The wife was out with the 17-year-old daughter. She's 13. There is no 17-year-old. The daughters are 13 and 7. OP says Jen was out with the older one while he stayed home with the younger 13-year-old. The girls are 13 and 7, not 17. She is 13, and you don't abandon someone that went with you to the store, even if it's an adult. NTA, are you sure your wife actually went to another store and accidentally put her phone on D&D? Like the drugstore or her bookie or boyfriend. My first thought, NTA, but your wife is cheating on you, dude. My mom pulled the same shit when I was a kid, and she was spending her free time banging around while I was left at the mall alone as a 10-year-old. Eventually, I stopped trying to reach her when it happened because she was unreachable and didn't care. NTA, your daughter is 13. Let me ask you a question. I am in my 40s. I go out shopping with my friend and she drives. When we're at the store, she says, "I'm going to go look at the shoes, be right back." But I go looking for her, call her, have her paged, and I can't find her for hours. Finally, she turns up, hours later, and does not apologize, does not give a rational explanation. She says something like, "What's the big deal? You're old enough to be on your own." Should I forgive her? Should I trust her again? Should we even remain friends? I asked that last question because you said you live in a high-crime area. So can you trust your wife to keep your daughter safe? Bare minimum, I would be wary of your wife's flimsy excuse, and I would get therapy for your daughter. What she went through was very traumatic. If I had a friend do that to me, I would have left already, or contacted the police if my friend has never disappeared before. We would not remain friends. Once she told me no big deal, because she's untrustworthy. The wife was out with the 17-year-old daughter, and our two kids, 13F and 7F. 13 and 7, not 17. How many times are you going to confidently incorrectly comment this? Username checks out. Anyone else think Jen is cheating? NTA. The thought crossed my mind also. Sounds like she was gone for hours. Presumably Emily searched and waited a while prior to calling OP. Then it took him a while to drive to the store. Then he says 40 minutes passed until they connected with Jen. So yeah, I'm thinking easily 2+ hours. That was my first thought, but going to score drugs seems more likely. My ex-Mill told me once that anytime her teen adult kids told her a story that made no sense, drugs were involved. Let's just say that the optics aren't great. No smoking gun, but definitely some cause for concern. She was definitely doing something she didn't want Emily exposed to. NTA. While I imagine the girl can be on her own a bit, there was no excuse for not letting her know that her mother went elsewhere, or for her mother to be unreachable. She had every reason to worry if something happened. A heads up is not babying her. Bullshit. All day long I will call bullshit. Particularly bullshit over the lack of communication. I wouldn't do this to an adult who had driven separately from me, whom I wasn't doing anything with after the shopping event. It's poor humaning, rude, disrespectful, and generally unsafe for emergency planning purposes. NTA, and your wife is acting majorly suspicious. Please update us when you find out what your wife was really doing. Also, please don't allow her to gaslight your daughter. Your wife is the one who did something wrong. No blame or defensiveness should be directed at your daughter or you. Wait, what? Your wife got in a car and drove to another store location without telling your 13-year-old she was doing that or answering her phone? Yes, your wife is irresponsible, but I call bullshit on her driving to another store. Something is afoot, sir, and you should get to the bottom of it. You are not overprotective, you are normal. NTA. NTA. Your wife was irresponsible and stupid for leaving a 13-year-old alone in a store. The wife was out with the 17-year-old daughter. No, the wife was out with the 13-year-old. The other daughter is 7 and didn't go. Read the post again. The daughter is 13. NTA, she left your teenage daughter alone in a store for a significant amount of time, then couldn't be reached. That is the definition of irresponsible. Hell NTA at all. At the very least, she should have told her child she was going to be gone. What the hell does she think is going to go through a kid's mind when they think they're out with a parent and suddenly parent is missing? Oh, I didn't think it would be that long or that she'd notice. Well, it was nearly 2 hours apparently, and yeah, she noticed. ETA, you did something right when you raised your daughter. She knew who to talk to, who to call, and who to trust when shit hit the fan. Key, ep it up, Dad. NTA, and also WTF. Even if you lived in the safest area in the world and Emily was an adult, just ditching her at the store without any explanation is a dick move. If something happens, how is Emily supposed to get home? NTA, that was a cruel and irresponsible thing to do. Jen should be ashamed of herself for not communicating properly with her daughter. And it's not Emily or you who are acting like a baby. Inta, I could never do that to my daughter. Our shopping trips are our bonding time. I don't want any negativity to ruin it. NTA, that is child abandonment and possibly child endangerment. NTA, who leaves their kid at a store to drive to another. It's not about your daughter being old enough to be in a store alone. She didn't know she was alone. Your wife is lucky the cops weren't called for child abandonment. Her story is sus, and you better, discreetly so she doesn't erase or hide anything, start finding out the truth. Tell your kids, they aren't allowed to go anywhere alone with mom anymore. NTA. My initial thought would be to call the cops and see if anyone saw a woman abducted, because leaving willingly like that doesn't seem rational at all. NTA. Like seriously, she should have CPS called on her. I am 35 and my parents would inform me even if they were stepping out to the store next door. Jen's story is a lie. Ask her to leave until she is ready to tell the truth. NTA. NTA, and I'm suspicious of your wife's story. I don't for a second believe she went to another store. Your wife is already fucking other dude. NTA. 13 is old enough for your daughter to be in a store alone for an hour. If you say, hey kiddo, I'm going to the next store, hang here, see if you find something you like, and don't leave the store. I'll be back in about an hour, and I have my phone with me if you get nervous and need to talk. I get the feeling your wife forgot your daughter was with her, and now she's going with a BS story to cover her $. OP is NTA. I don't think she forgot. I think she used the daughter as a patsy, so the husband wouldn't ask questions, and didn't count on the daughter telling him she left. Hey! This is insane. Has Jen done anything like this before? NTA, your wife needs help, not normal behavior. WTF is wrong with your wife? Your wife is demented if she thinks this was okay. NTA, wife is though. Age doesn't matter. Even if your daughter was 18, you don't literally leave them stranded without telling them. Sounds fishy to me. Good for you for going to her rescue. W, this is not you being overprotective at all. This is insanity. I'd never do that to my kids, especially a 7-year-old. NTA, this is not okay at all. Is this the first time your wife has done something like this? This was a 13-year-old, but still. Enta, what was your wife thinking? Even if you are in a non-high crime area, your kid could have been kidnapped by someone who could have hurt or done a whole lot worse to your kid. The only time being alone is fine is if both shop separately, i.e. Emily going one area and Jen another, and meet in a chosen spot, then leave together. Or if Jen had told Emily, hey Emily, I'm popping over to store X, should be back in X amount of time. If I'm not back, go to this area and wait for me. Though I'm not mad at Emily for refusing to be near her mom. She's probably wondering if her mom will do this again. Good for you though. You're someone your daughter can rely on, especially in this type of situation. I have to ask, does Jen do this a lot, and has Emily already been in this situation before? right? My kid could be in a police station, and I would still tell her if I was leaving for any period of time, even just a trip to the loo and she's 21. NTA. Maybe you're overprotective in general, but she was outright neglectful, leaving a 13-year-old alone in a store without warning. NTA. Your wife is indeed an irresponsible parent. Leaving a 13-year-old alone for more than an hour is just stupid. Your wife should be ashamed of yourself and apologize to your daughter. Are you sure that your irresponsible wife didn't met another man secretly? NTA. And I've heard a lot of stories about cheating on this sub. I'd keep an eye on her cell phone and other suspicious signs. Ask her if the other dudette is worth abandoning her child for. If she wants to screw around, then be open about it to you. Get a divorce, don't drag her kids into the mix, and then leave them behind. In today's world, she is lucky the kid was still there and had her sense to go get help. If she went looking for drugs or something, same comment stands. NTA. But dude, your wife? NTA. Ask for receipts or some kind of proof she went where she said she did. It really does seem like she put her phone on silent in purpose and forgot that your daughter was there with her. Then realized later, oh crap, my kid. Da fuck. Whoa, definitely NTA. Don't let your wife make you think otherwise. I'm sorry, but with today's world, it's hard to trust people. Leaving your 13-year-old daughter at a mall alone without telling her you left is definitely red flag material. NTTF, why couldn't your wife answer the phone? NTA. Mother used to leave me at shops to go cheating. If she had Google, they already tracked her. Tell her you need to know what she was really doing. NTA. She abandoned your child in a store for more than 2 hours. No matter what her excuse is, this was horrible, and she had her phone on DND. WTF was she doing because it was not running to another store? You might want to make a police report so when you are going through your divorce, you will have a better chance of getting custody of your children. NTA. 13 is old enough to be left alone if she knows the plan. Your wife messed up this time. NTA. Your wife is probably cheating on you. NTA. OMG. Sorry, dude. I think your wife is probably having an affair. I'd leave her anyway for abandoning your daughter like that. Something is wrong, with your wife. Oh crap. I didn't even think of that, but it makes sense. It was suspicious she turned her phone off and all that. That's so messed up. Her relationship with her daughters will probably be over if it was for an affair. NTA. I'd never do that, no matter how old my daughter was. My daughter is over 40, and I would never do that to her even now. Your wife has a boyfriend. Your wife is cheating on you. There is no such thing as being overprotective of a 13-year-old. Not sure where you are, but here is the U.S. The human trafficking criminals are even targeting small-town malls and shopping centers. The threat is very real. We not only protect our kids, even 30-plus and 20-plus-year-old nieces are hyper-vigilant in stores and parking lots. Plus, I do agree with others that what your wife did was not only incompetence but very shady. You and your daughter are in no way TA, but your wife very much is. Info. To anyone on Reddit, how does one accidentally put their phone on do or disturb? Is it the same way one accidentally falls onto someone else's penis? OP, your wife is lying and having an affair. YTA if you believe her story. I had my new phone on silent and couldn't figure out why it wouldn't ring. Took months to figure it out, lol. I had accidentally hit silent mode without knowing it had a silent mode. My stupidity showed well. I get silent. That does happen accidentally. But D&D, that's a multi-step process. Single step for me. Drag down the top menu, and it's a button there. I suppose I could hit it by accident aiming for something else, but it seems unlikely. I have totally done it a bunch of times, but that is irrelevant. She knew she left. She have called her daughter and been in panic mode within 15 minutes of making this bonehead decision. 2 hours later, and she didn't wonder where her daughter was. This is so shady. Mama is lying about everything. Even if it was a legit accident, who goes 2 hours without checking their phone for notifications? Especially if they left a kid somewhere. NTA. Yes, your daughter is not a small child. But ask your wife how she would feel if your 13-year-old was missing because she was kidnapped and sex trafficked. Or if she had been raped. That could have happened. There is a difference between letting her look at clothes for a few minutes in the same store and completely leaving the grounds and driving somewhere else. And I would check with your daughter that nothing happened. NTA, your wife leaving your 13-year-old is a very strange and unkind thing to do. NTA, she just left the store and expected no one to notice. She is the AH. Your daughter is traumatized and no longer trusts your wife, and your wife thinks she did nothing wrong. Good luck.